I thought I had long forgotten about that letter. But the past has a cruel sense of humor. It never really disappears. It started like any other ordinary afternoon. The kind where the sun slanted just right through my kitchen window, making everything look warmer than it actually felt. I sat in my worn-out recliner, sipping on a cup of coffee so strong it could wake the dead, debating whether or not my knees were up for a trip to the grocery store. Then from the attic came a sound that sent a jolt through my aging bones. "Grandpa, you've got some seriously old stuff up here." I groaned. That would be my grandson, Ben. 17 years old, bursting with energy, and possessing absolutely no regard for the sacredness of a man's forgotten junk. "Careful up there," I called out. "If anything collapses, I'm too old to dig you out." Ben laughed, unfazed. "No promises." A few minutes later, he came bounding down the stairs, his face lit up with excitement. In his hands was an old, yellowed envelope, tucked inside a book so worn its cover had all but disintegrated. "Look what I found," he said, shoving it toward me. "This thing looks older than you." I scoffed, snatching it from his hands. "Watch your mouth, kid. I'm still breathing." But the second my fingers touched the paper, something inside me twisted. My name was scrawled on the envelope in handwriting I immediately recognized, my own, but from a younger, more foolish version of myself. I didn't even need to open it. I knew exactly what it was. A letter I had written to Martha, the woman I once loved, the woman I never had the courage to send it to. Ben flopped onto the couch across from me, curiosity practically oozing from his pores. "So," he said, resting his chin in his hands, "who's Martha?" I hesitated, staring at the letter like it might burn a hole through my fingers. My chest felt tight, like all the air had been sucked from the room. "Nobody," I muttered, stuffing the letter back into the book. Ben raised an eyebrow. "Nobody? So you wrote a letter to nobody? It's not a love letter." His grin widened. "Oh, that means it is a love letter." I shot him a glare. "Kid, touch that letter, and I'm writing you out of my will." Ben held up his hands in surrender, but his eyes still sparkled with amusement. All right. But man, a long-lost love letter? This is straight out of a movie." I sighed, rubbing a hand over my face. "It's not that dramatic." Ben smirked. "You're so bad at lying." That night, I sat in my chair, staring at the letter under the dim glow of my lamp. My hands trembled as I unfolded it, my eyes scanning the words my younger self had written. "Martha, I should have knocked on your door that day. I should have said I was sorry. But I was too proud, too stubborn. And now I don't know how to fix it." My throat tightened. 50 years. 50 years since I had written this. And the past had finally come knocking. The next morning, the smell of bacon woke me up. Which could only mean one thing. Ben was up to something. Sure enough, as I shuffled into the kitchen, there he was, grinning like a man with a master plan, flipping pancakes with alarming enthusiasm. "Morning, old man," he chirped. I narrowed my eyes. "What do you want?" Ben slid a plate in front of me and leaned against the counter. "So about that letter." "No, hear me out." "No," Ben groaned. "Come on, Grandpa. This is like a real-life Nicholas Sparks story. It's tragic." I stabbed a piece of pancake. "It's none of your business." Ben ignored me completely. So I did some digging. I froze, fork halfway to my mouth. "You what?" I looked up Martha. I set the fork down. "Ben, she's still alive." The world tilted slightly. "She lives 2 hours away," he continued, oblivious to the absolute shock running through me. "I found her daughter on Facebook." "You what?" "And guess what?" He grinned, like this was the greatest discovery of his life. "I messaged her. I nearly had a heart attack." "You did what?" She responded. Ben, this absolute menace of a grandson, had single-handedly blown open a door I had spent half a century keeping shut. "She said Martha has memory problems now," he added, his voice softening slightly. "But she still talks about you sometimes." I swallowed hard. "Memory problems? She remembers me?" Ben nodded. "At least, parts of you." I let out a shaky breath. My mind reeled. 50 years. 50 years, and she still thought of me? Ben nudged my arm. "So, what do you think?" I let out a dry laugh. I think you're out of your damn mind. Ben smirked. And you're out of excuses. I stared down at my plate, the weight of 50 years pressing down on me. Could I really do this? Could I face her after all this time? Then I thought of the letter, the words I had never sent, the apology that had sat unread for half a century. Maybe it was time. I exhaled, long and slow. Fine, I muttered. But if she throws something at me, you take the hit. Ben whooped, clapping me on the back. Deal. As he grabbed the car keys, I sat there for a moment longer, gripping the edge of the table like it might hold me steady. I was about to face the one thing I had spent 50 years running from. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't sure if I was ready. 2 hours. That's how long the drive was. 2 hours of me staring out the window, questioning every life choice that had led to this moment. 2 hours of Ben humming off-key to the radio, far too pleased with himself for setting up this entire disaster. You nervous? He asked, glancing at me as he turned down the next street. No, elite. Ben smirked. Right. That's why you've been gripping your knee, like it owes you money. I exhaled sharply and forced myself to loosen my fingers. But my nerves weren't going anywhere. This wasn't just some casual drop-in. This was me walking straight into a past I had spent half a century running from. And now, for better or worse, I was about to come face to face with it. Ben pulled into the driveway of a modest, well-kept house with a white picket fence. The kind of home that looked like it belonged in a magazine about the American dream. My heart pounded. She's inside, Ben said, checking his phone. Her daughter's expecting us. I inhaled sharply, then muttered, If she throws something at me, you take the hit. Ben grinned. Still worth it. Before I could come up with a good reason to fake my own death and avoid this entirely, the front door opened. A woman in her 50s stepped out, watching us carefully. She had the same eyes as Martha, soft, knowing, like they could see straight through you. You must be Walter, she said. I swallowed. And you must be Linda. She nodded. Come in. I hesitated at the threshold, bracing myself for the emotional punch to the gut I knew was coming. But instead, the house smelled like cinnamon and old books, comforting, familiar, like stepping into a memory I didn't realize I still had. Linda led us into the living room, where a frail woman sat by the window, gazing outside. Martha. My breath hitched. Her silver hair was neatly brushed, her hands folded gently in her lap. She looked peaceful, but different. The vibrant, sharp-witted woman I once knew had been softened by time. Linda crouched beside her. Mom, there's someone here to see you. Martha turned slowly, her eyes scanning the room. When they landed on me, I held my breath. And then, to my absolute horror, she said, Are you the man delivering the pizza? Ben nearly fell over trying to contain his laughter. I, on the other hand, was considering walking into oncoming traffic. Linda sighed. No, Mom. This is Walter. Do you remember Walter? Martha blinked, her face crinkling in thought. For a long, painful moment, I thought she wouldn't remember me at all. That maybe I had waited too long. That whatever I had come here for was already lost. But then, her lips parted slightly, and she whispered, Walter, a whisper. But it was there. My chest ached. Yes, Martha, I said, my voice barely above a breath. It's me. She studied me for a long moment, her brows furrowing, as if she were sifting through decades of memories. Then, she tilted her head slightly. Took you long enough, she muttered. Ben let out a victorious ha and clapped me on the back. I could barely breathe. Martha stared at me, eyes filled with something I couldn't quite place. Where have you been? She asked softly. 50 years of silence. 50 years of regret. How did I even begin to answer that? I swallowed the lump in my throat and said the only truth I could manage. I got lost. Her expression softened. And to my surprise, she reached out and gently patted my hand. Well, she said quietly, you're here now. For the next hour, we talked. Or at least, I tried to talk while Martha's mind wandered between past and present. Some moments, she was sharp, smiling at me like we were young again, laughing at some old joke neither of us remembered fully. Other times, she drifted. She repeated questions. confused Ben for my son. At one point, she asked if I was the neighbor. Each time, my heart cracked a little more. But I stayed, because this wasn't about me. This was about her, about making sure, even if just for today, she knew she hadn't been forgotten. Then, just as I thought our time was coming to an end, Linda cleared her throat. "There's something you should see," she said, walking to a cabinet. She pulled out a small wooden box and handed it to me. "Mom kept this all these years." I frowned and opened the lid. Inside was an old photograph, me and Martha, standing by the lake we used to visit. I barely recognized myself in that young, foolish man. And underneath it, a letter addressed to me. My hands trembled as I picked it up, carefully unfolding the paper. The ink had faded, but the words hit me like a freight train. "Walter, I don't know if I'll ever see you again, but I hope you are well. I hope life has been kind to you. I hope that one day, you'll find your way back, not just to me, but to the part of yourself you left behind. And if that day ever comes, I will be here." My vision blurred. All these years, I had regretted never sending my letter. And all this time, she had written one to me. I exhaled shakily, looking up at Martha. She was watching me, her expression unreadable. I swallowed the lump in my throat and reached into my pocket. "Linda," I said, handing her a piece of paper. "Could you read this to her?" She hesitated but nodded. Clearing her throat, she began to read. "Martha, I should have sent this letter 50 years ago. I should have knocked on your door and told you I was sorry. But I was too proud, too stubborn, too afraid. If I could go back, I would have done it differently. But I can't change the past. All I can do is be here now. And tell you what I should have said back then. I'm sorry. And I never stopped caring." As Linda finished, the room was silent. Then Martha smiled. A small, soft, knowing smile. She didn't need to say anything. In that moment, I knew she understood. And somehow that was enough. Final thoughts. Life has a funny way of bringing things full circle. I spent decades believing I had lost my chance at closure. But sometimes the universe gives us a second chance, just not in the way we expect. I don't know if Martha will remember me tomorrow, but today I sat with her. Today, I got to say the words I had buried for 50 years. And today, that was enough.